Wherever you are in the world, welcome to another edition of Jerry's Take on China and part 2 of my War of the Words series. In this, we can look at how the USA doesn't just make up words, it repurposes them too. We've seen how they made up new words to describe drug addicts. They're now called substance abusers. They renamed the homeless into unhoused or unhomed. The luckier ones can get called vehicular residents if they have a car to live in. But how about the new speak they've invented to repurpose words? Rather than have them mean what they should mean, they now mean something different in American English. Let's take a look at the word unprovoked. It used to mean someone did something without any reason, without being pushed into it. No justification. But when the Russians were threatened with nuclear missiles on their doorstep, when they were assured that NATO would not move one step east, they were promised the Minsk Accords would be complied with, and there would be peace in the region. They were further assured that the ethnically Russian peoples of Ukraine would be treated fairly and given a degree of autonomy. But the complete opposite of all those things happened. Russia did what they felt they needed to do, but it was unprovoked. By the way, nuclear war was almost provoked by Russia when they tried to put nuclear missiles into America's doorstep in Cuba a generation ago. So it's clear the use of the word unprovoked only applies when it applies to Russian acts, not the USA. Because Russia's actions at that time were provocative, and their actions did provoke a reaction from the USA, one that came close to obliterating the entire world. For 75 years, the people of Palestine have been suppressed, persecuted, prosecuted, shot in the streets, and incarcerated without trial. Their homes have been taken, their land is virtually useless. 46% of Gaza residents have no job and no hope of a job. And the majority of the people who live there, 60%, live in poverty in cramped, unsanitary, and inhumane conditions, with the risk of being shot or shot at when they stray into the wrong part of the place they call home. But they were unprovoked when they attacked Israel. And the fighters who attacked Israel without provocation have other repurposed names. They're not soldiers, they're militants, or they're terrorists. Luckily though, if they get captured, they won't be subject to torture. They may experience enhanced interrogation though. Another one is the repurposing of the word governance or government. Have you noticed how Iran, Venezuela, Russia, China, these places don't have governments, they have regimes. And now the word self-defense has been turned on its head and repurposed again. It's defense of the US national security which has caused them to open military bases all around the world, nowhere near America. It's nothing to do with aggression, it's just being defensive. The USA went to war in Vietnam to defend America's values. They went to war in Iraq in self-defense against weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. They went to war in Afghanistan. Not sure why that was, presumably because impoverished Afghan farmers were planning an invasion of the US beaches. We know it was all self-defense, and none of it was aggressive, because mainstream media keep telling us so. But if you want an example of aggressive, look no further than China, which agreed to build a shipping port in the Solomon Islands, so that they could help lift the long-suffering islanders out of poverty. That's an open act of aggression in total defiance of the rules-based order. The USA has partially militarized Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and now they're doing the same to Australia, all to defend Americans from an aggressive country that they trade with, that has never, in 5,000 years of recorded history, left their own landmass except to trade and explore. But in fairness to the Americans, they don't mean to do it. It's just a nasty habit they've acquired. When they landed in the New World and they set about defending themselves against aggressive nations of indigenous people who they couldn't understand why didn't want them there. When USA was attacked on 9/11, they went on the defensive by attacking Iraq, half a world away. Shock and awe, the initial attack on Baghdad killed 6,700 civilians who the US claimed they were trying to free from oppression. Well, they did that. When a civilian dies in this horrific way, it's called collateral damage. When it happens in Ukraine or Israel, it's an atrocity and a war crime. Self-defense in American English seems to have a very different meaning, because while China has built what real experts call a defensive military capability, it has no ability to attack other parts of the world. It's been well proven China doesn't have the ships, the landing craft, or enough airborne military to land on Taiwan in any force. But whenever a Chinese leader says, "We will defend Taiwan," Western media scream, China intends to invade Taiwan. And with only one military base outside of China, Djibouti, where China works with the US, China is now somehow officially, in American English anyway, an aggressive nation. Repurposed words, or just words that have been turned upside down? It's hard to say. But while we're on the topic of China, it has restrictive trade practices, another of the USA's favorite expressions. China is the #1 recipient globally of international foreign investment, so business leaders don't seem to mind China's restrictions. In the interests of those same words, national security, Korean, Japanese, Dutch companies and others that make semiconductors are now banned from operating in China or selling products to China. The United States has written laws and passed executive orders to restrict China from competing on the global stage. But it's China that's restrictive in their lexicon. Thank goodness we all understand the meaning of the words national security, don't we? Oh, we don't? Forget semiconductors. Everyone talks about them. China has better tomatoes than the USA, so they sanctioned Chinese tomatoes. China has cheaper and better solar panels than the USA, so they sanctioned them too. China's cotton was good quality, good price, and selling more than US cotton, so they sanctioned that too. And all of these were because of China's forced labor, which to this day is not only denied by China and the people involved, but has never been proven by anyone. That's another one. Forced labor, slave labor. It apparently exists in China, where cotton is picked by huge machines, but it doesn't exist in the USA, where cotton is picked by convicted prisoners who have no choice. Somehow, China has been labeled the human rights abuser here. I could go on and on and on, but you get the message. Whatever you see in media, whatever the US says about Russia, China, Iran, Palestine, Venezuela, or any one of a number of its adversaries that it doesn't want to compete with, you will find the words have been turned upside down, repurposed, and designated as something they are not. And this makes non-critical readers and viewers believe something is true when it isn't. More often, these words point us to a direction that they want us to avoid seeing what is really true, because that would be embarrassing. Let's call them whatever we like: misapplications, misappropriations, distortions, malapropisms. It doesn't matter what word we use. The words they use serve the purpose of misinforming, misdirecting, and or manipulating our emotions. That's how they're doing it. Thanks once again for watching Jerry's Take on China, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye for now.